Hello everyone, welcome to Coder and Boots. So in this video we are going to discuss about the topic how to do port forwarding or port mapping in a home router. So port forwarding or port mapping, it's a very important feature that is used for routing traffic from the router uh, to a specific device within the network. Okay, so this is basically in case of firewalls in data centers or any other place where we host servers. So all the places, what we do is we have in a port forwarding rule, okay, or a network translation rule that performs this activity. But there is an option to do the same thing at your home also. So that means if you have internet connection or a broadband connection at your home, we can use this capability within the router to route the traffic from that is coming to a specific port to a specific device within your home. Okay, so for example, in this diagram, okay, so in this diagram if you see, we have a router. So any broadband connection that you have, or a router or internet connection that you have, right? So there will be one public IP to that particular connection. Okay, so this can be a static IP or a dynamic IP. Static IP means the IP will not change. Okay, so even if you turn off the router, turn on, restart, whatever you do, the IP won't change. The public IP won't change. Dynamic means whenever you do a reboot or whenever the connection gets re-established, the IP may change. Okay, so but the IP will be public IP. Public means, I mean, it will be visible across the internet, but it will change. So you can get a public IP by requesting the internet service provider. Some providers charge a nominal amount for the public IP. Some providers give it for free. Okay, but here, I mean, irrespective of whether you have a static or dynamic, so we can conduct this experiment in every router. So as I explained, so the router will have a public IP. So but when you get inside your home, okay, so your devices like phone, laptop, TV, okay, all these will be connected to the Wi-Fi or the local Ethernet network from that particular modem or router, right? So this will have a private IP. Private IP means, for example, this is my laptop. Okay, so this in my computer, if I open my command prompt, if I type ipconfig, okay, so I'll be getting an IP address. You can see it is connected to wireless LAN. Okay, that means Wi-Fi. Okay, you can see an IP 192.168.1.148. Okay, so this is not a public IP, this is a private IP. Okay, so that means within the router there is a local private network which is visible within my home. Okay, and all my devices which is connected to that same network will have an IP in the range of 192.168 series. Okay, so if you see the subnet mask, it is 255.255.255.0. So that means this has 256 IPs possible. Okay, so this is the gateway 192.168.1.1. So the IP ranges, the IP addresses will be from 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.256. Okay, so approximately out of that, like, I mean, 2 or 3 IPs will go for the networking aspects elements, but the remaining 254 or 253 IPs will be available for use. Okay, so this is my computer's IP. But if I check the public IP means the point, that the endpoint where it is connected to the internet, right? So it will have an IP. So that is, like, I mean, outside my home, my laptop, my phone, my TV, all will be communicating with the address this particular public IP address. Okay, so that means in my computer, if I type what is my public IP, so this gives, okay, right now this is 84 something. Okay, so this I will get the same IP. Okay, even if I try this same thing from my laptop, mobile, TV, wherever I try from my network, I'll get the same IP. Okay, so that means my identity in the public network is going to be the same. Within my private network, I'll have, every device will have some local IP addresses. Okay, so with the concept of port forwarding or port mapping, what we are doing is, so let's say if you want to expose some of the service that is running in one of these machines, okay, to the outside world, you can use this port mapping. Port mapping means you can let's say like the public IP, you wanted to route the traffic coming to 443 port, okay, to the 443 port in one of this machine. So what we'll do, we will do a translation rule, or we'll do a port forwarding rule saying, okay, map the public IP colon port to the private IP colon port. It's like a one-to-one mapping. Okay, for example, so we will say external port 443, okay, then internal port 443. So it's not just the port, we will say protocol also. So protocol, we will say protocol TCP, okay, TCP, then port mapping external 443, internal 443, then IP address, I'll say maybe 192.168.1.12. okay, that means any traffic coming to the port TCP port 443 from outside will be routed to the internal IP address 192.168.1.12 to 443. We can even change the routing also. Let's say if I want to change my routing from external 443 to internal 1443, okay, into this machine. So this is also possible. Okay, I'll show you how to do this. So for this, doing this kind of mapping, we need access to the router's console. Okay, so this as I explained, so mostly the router's web UI will be available in the gateway's IP address. Okay, gateway IP address is 192. In my case, it is 192.168.1.1. Okay, so usually like these routers will be deployed or deployed by the internet service provider. So usually, behind the router, usually there will be the admin password. So or some of the popular router manufacturers, they will have a default password. Okay, you can check it in internet. Otherwise, you can get in touch with the network service provider. They will provide you with the credentials. Okay, so mine is an Vodafone connection, so I'm going to get into the password. Okay, so in my case, the default password was available behind the router. Okay, I logged into the console. Now you see, so this has, basically there are 4 devices connected to this particular router, and and you will have to go through the settings. Okay, so in my case, there is something called basic mode, expert mode. So usually like these kind of configurations will be there, and in some cases it is, instead of expert, it will be advanced configurations or something. Okay, the interface will change, but what you have to do is you have to go through all these options and figure out the configuration that tells something like port mapping or port forwarding. Okay, so if you see, I checked the internet options. Okay, in the internet options I can see IPv4 port mapping. Okay, so this port mapping is the option for me. Okay, so if I get inside this, so you can see static port mapping. This is what we need to do. So let's add a rule. Okay, so what I am going to do is, maybe let's so what we can do is, I'll run a Python program. So let's expose the Python program outside. I'm not sure whether, yeah, let's expose the Python program outside. Okay, so it's just starting the PyCharm. So this Python program is running in my laptop. Yeah, so you see it's going to run on 8,000 port, right? So I'll start this program. It's just getting loaded. I'll run this application, and as we saw, the IP address is 192.168.1.148, right? So let's add a rule for this. Okay, service, I'll say Python, my Python API, and this is TCP. This is like, I'll specify the device list. Instead of device list, I'll do one thing. I'll just put the IP address 192.168.1.148. Okay, so there are two options, okay, port or port range. Port range means you can give a range of ports, okay, instead of just doing one port addition. You can say, like, I mean, maybe port number 80 to 200, okay, that means all the ports from 80 to 200 will be mapped from the external to internal. So in my case, I'm just going to expose only one port. I'm going to make a port mapping for 80. This is the public port, and local port is 8000. Okay, this will give error because I think already we have a mapping for 80. So you see, this will give error. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to delete this entry. I'll add again TCP 192.168.1.148. okay, 80, local port 8000, save. Okay, now see, local port is 8000, external port is 80, right? So let's see whether this program is running on this local mesh IP 8000. Let's verify the service right now from local browser with the local IP. So this one /API. Okay, it's giving response, and you can see the request got hit here as well. So now what we'll do is, let's use the public IP of this one. Okay, public IP, the port is 80, right? Colon 80. Even if you are not giving 80, it will work. /API. Okay, no, wait, /API. It's routed to Nginx. Okay, yeah, the reason was there was an existing rule, so I didn't reboot the router. That's the reason. Okay, there was an existing rule which was routed to 80 from a different Nginx. Okay, so without rebooting, the changes were not getting reflected. So what I'll do is, I'll just, instead of 80, what I'll do is I'll just add additional rule, Python API. Okay, I'll add another one. Okay, 192.168.8. So see, this is like, I mean, home router. That's the reason, I mean, it won't refresh reflect the changes without reboot. Okay, so but in case of firewalls or other sophisticated devices, you don't really need to do all these things. Okay, so it will automatically happen. So I'll make 81 to internal 8000. Let's see whether this works or not. Python 01. Okay, local public port is 81, right? Just a minute. So it's still routed to the Nginx. What we'll do is, let's reboot that and see how it works. Okay. Oh, sorry, I didn't save it. Sorry, the problem is I didn't save it. There was an apply button at the bottom. Our changes has not been updated. Duplicate. Oh, sorry. Local port. There was same mapping. Sorry, I think, I mean, I didn't click on the apply button. That's the reason. So applied. Okay, now. Okay, now you see the public IP /API, it's giving status success. Okay, so there was no reboot required. It was just the save was, I forgot to click on save. That's the reason. Okay, there was an apply button at the bottom which was not visible. So once I clicked on apply, so the API is now available in the public network. This is the public IP. The same API, if you see, this is the private one, this is the public one, and you can see the logs also over here. Okay, so now you see here, I mean, it is coming from 1.1. okay, 1.1 means it is coming from from the gateway. Okay, so gateway, the reason why it is showing as coming from gateway is because it is getting routed from the router. Okay, this is the router's IP, right? So it is getting routed from the router. That's the reason, I mean, the request IP is showing as the local, the gateways or the router's private IP. Okay, so like this, I mean, we can, let's say, we can add another rule. So, or you can even see there is another rule that goes 443, right? Let's see what happens with 443. So I'm not sure whether something is there or not. Okay, so it's showing. So see, it's giving Nginx page, right? Because I have a VM running over here. Okay, so in this VM I have okay, open that. So I have an Nginx running, service Nginx status. Okay, you can see an Nginx running over here, right? And the IP address, you see, this is a VM that is provisioned in virtual host. Okay, no, yeah, or virtual box. Okay, and you see the IP address is 192.168.1.12. You can see over here 192. The interface EN P0S3. There you can see an INET address 192.168.1.12. Okay, that's the IP, and that's why it is giving Nginx not found. It's routing to an Nginx page. Okay, so I hope this example is clear. So using this, you can route traffic to databases, you can route traffic to websites, you can host websites, you can host services from your home computer. You don't have to waste money in provisioning cloud servers or anything for hobby projects, or even like, I mean, you can deploy your public services. Like for example, let's say you wanted to expose a service from your home, even you can host it in a Raspberry Pi as well. Okay, so thank you very much for watching this video. So if you have any questions, comments or feedbacks, please comment below this video. Thank you.